So, are you used to me? I don't know. I don't ever really know how to really start this up. Now, as you could tell, I'm drinking a Moscow Mule. Very simple drink. I love it though. I had a taste for it and I decided to drink that. I was going to think of like a cool little drink to like theme. I don't know what I just said. I was thinking of a cool drink to like, that would suit the theme of this story. But the story sucks. This is I'm not even going to get into it like that. Why am I doing that? I've had 3 Moscow Mules already. So this is episode 3 of I Swear to Drunk I'm Not God. And I really, really hope that you've enjoyed H.H. Holmes. And I don't mean enjoy. You know what I mean. Whatever. Fuck it. I don't have to explain this to y'all. But I will say that this 3rd episode, I don't know if you all have ever heard of it, but this is the sad life of Vera Jo Reigle. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. Now, I hope you're not eating. Please don't eat during this. This is a case that made me want to take a shower, then take a bath, then brush my teeth, then plunge my face, and then set all my clothes on fire. So there's multiple trigger warnings. There's murder, obviously. There's incest. There's rape. There's particularly rape of minors. It's just gnarly. So whatever. Now, what I'm drinking again is the Moscow Mule. It is ginger beer and vodka. Very simple. I love to use the Fever Tree situation. Fever Tree is so fun. I like using Fever Tree. They have so many good flavors. It's lower in calories. It's just the bomb. Cut up a lime, throw it in that bad boy with some ice. You are good to go. It'd be nice if you had copper mugs, which I do. Keeps it nice and fresh and cold and just like Russia. So, all right. So who we're talking about today, Jesus, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to be on this podcast. I'm like, do I get drunk first and then do this? Or do I not get drunk first and then do this and then get drunk as I'm doing this? Or I don't know yet. So I kind of just let it happen how it happens. I would just spent the last 4 hours on the phone with my sister, progressively drinking. And then before I knew it, I was like, shit, I need to film this or record this. And I'm wasted. So this should be interesting. But I'm not going to be super playful and fun because this is so fucked up that I want to just tell you the story. I just want to get it out. Let me just get it out. So today we're going to talk about Vera. Poor Vera. Now, sip. This is kind of turning into like a little what is it called? ASMR? I don't know. My voice kind of sounds sexy in these headphones. So here we are. Vera Jo Reigle was born on July 11th, 1986 in Findlay, Ohio. I don't know what that is. Don't matter. It's in Ohio. Her parents were Willard E. Reigle Jr. and Verna Messersmith. Now, she was also called Verna Gardner. Now, Willard was indicted in 1998 for 4 counts of rape and 4 specifications that he was a sexual violent predator. Now, if you're wondering what a sexually violent predator is, it's basically a person who had been convicted of or pleaded guilty to committing a sexual violent offense and is likely to engage in the future in 1 or more sexual violent offenses. So he's a fucking pervert. It's the very short version. He's a pervert. Now, in 1999, he was found guilty of 4 counts of rape. He was sentenced to 10 to life for each rape conviction to be served consecutively. So he got a total of 40 years to life. Now, from the very beginning, from the very beginning, Vera had a very rough life. I mean, obviously, her father is a piece of absolute shit. She was physically and sexually abused at a young age, and she was also bullied a lot. Now, according to Verna, who is Vera's mother, she was picked on because of her disability, because she was mentally challenged. According to Vera's teacher, she had a cognitive level of an 8-year-old by the time she was 24. At 11 years old, her father raped her, and after her father went to prison, her mother's new boyfriend also raped her. So now, even though she was mentally challenged, she was able to get her diploma. She got her diploma in 2005. And after that, Vera would never have a job. But she was able to receive Social Security checks, or SSIs, because of her disability. Now, by most accounts, people said that she was incredibly helpful and she was really sweet. She didn't stand up for herself a lot in the beginning, but eventually she was able to defend herself against other people. At age 18, Vera had met a 13-year-old boy by the name of Zachary Brooks. Now, they had been sleeping together off and on for about 5 years. He was 13. She was 18. Got it? At this point, she was separated from her father because her mother and her new boyfriend decided to move. So she moved into Zachary's family's house. This was this like little dumpy 2-story house, and the address was 300 Center Street. This place was A&E's dream. It was definitely a hoarder situation, more disgusting than hoarding. Officers were called there well over 10 times over a span of 2 years because of threats of harassment, child abuse, neglect. There were fights, and just overall shitty living conditions. Now, the house was apparently filthy and smelled like shit. There was a pig living there that would shit in the closet. And people said that Vera was, she was so outgoing and she was so happy. But before meeting the Brookses, things changed and she became different. So now Zachary's family is repeatedly compared to the Manson family. And Zachary's mother, Sherry Brooks, was compared to Charles Manson. And Sherry Brooks has her very own fucked up story. Now, I want to talk about Sherry Brooks because Vera ended up living with Sherry Brooks. And in order for me to set the scene on what happened to Vera, it is important that I establish who Sherry is. Now, Sherry Brooks, aka Sugar Babe. So there's that. She was the mother of 9 children. Her first child was the product of an incestual relationship with Daniel Bixler Sr. Now, Daniel Sr. is Sherry's aunt's son. So Sherry's mama's sister's baby. That would make her his cousin. Now, she said they were called kissing cousins, and they weren't just kissing cousins because they were fucking cousins. She ended up having Scotty Amons, which was her first son with Daniel. Now, Daniel's her cousin. She sleeps with her cousin. She has a kid named Scotty. Cool. Got it. Gross. Fantastic. Now, Daniel Sr. would later stab his wife. No. Daniel Sr. would later stab his wife's lover and end up in a 20-mile pursuit with the law in an 18-ton semi-truck. The police shot out the tires and apprehended both Daniel and his son Nathaniel. And according to Shannon, who is the wife of Scotty. Now, I'm giving you a lot of names here, so you gotta keep up. Shannon is the wife of Scotty. Scotty is Sherry's son that she had with her cousin. Danny would say that it's in the Bixler blood. I meant to kill, I guess. So she definitely knew how to pick her men. Now, when Sherry was little, she was molested by her own father And when she was a toddler and was given the name Sugar Babe, it was due to her relationship with her father, even though I read in one account that she got the name from selling meth, which, you know, both are just wonderful ways to gain a nickname. I don't know. I don't really know where that fucking name came from, but she claims it was from the relationship that she had with her father when she was a toddler. Now, she was put in foster care. And even though she was removed from the house, Sherry continuously slept with her own father, even after she was married to her husband, Kevin Brooks. Now, Sherry had 3 siblings and was taken from her mom when she was around like 3. Then she came back home when she was 16 and claimed that she had this baby in Tiffin. Tiffin is a city in Ohio, but really it wasn't her baby, but it was another foster baby. So she basically took somebody else's baby. And her father, I'm sorry, I'm effervescence. Her mother said she's an obituary liar. But what she really meant was that she was a habitual liar. She's very, very good at convincing people to do and say anything. And so Sherry started having kids, but she lost them one by one. She had Maria, Michael, Sherry, and Joshua. They were all taken from her. Sherry, the baby, was taken at birth and placed in foster care. Now, in these cases, she lost her kids due in part to sexual abuse. So a witness even said that there was an instance where Sherry was given the baby a bath and instead was holding the baby in the air, giving the baby fellatio. Now, Scotty also said her firstborn with her cousin said that he was molested by Sherry. And her thing was to lose one kid and then just have another. By all accounts, she was obsessed with Maria, one of her girl babies, and was devastated when she lost Maria. She said, quote, "I want her to know that she's always welcome to meet me anytime she wants." Now, Maria was taken from the home at 1 year old. And after Maria, Sherry had an obsession with baby girls. Sherry's aunt stated that there was one instance when they needed to take Maria to the hospital because she was being molested. She was bleeding from the vagina. I told y'all this was going to be weird. Now, that night, Sherry was given her baby back, which I'm like, the fuck? You got a baby that is having vaginal bleeding and you're like, here you go, you can have it back. And, but she didn't take the baby to the doctor. So then then Sherry took her baby Maria to her mom to take home. But then the sheriff showed up to Sherry's mom's home to take the baby. Now, Sherry then had 4 more children with her new husband, Kevin Brooks. Mind you, she's marrying this new douchebag, but then she's still sleeping with her own father. So this is a classy sort. She had Kevin, Zachary, Garth, and Chucky. The 4 of them were not removed from the home, despite of all the abuse and the removal of the first 5 kids. And of course, Sherry started to abuse them as well. So Sherry is a literal monster. By the time she's done breeding, she starts telling people that she wanted all her kids, her boys, to have at least 1 kid by the time they were 16 or 17, which is like, oh my God, this bitch is so disgusting. And by all accounts, this woman was an absolute terror. They compared her to Charles Manson, remember? I mean, she was a grand liar. She was a manipulator. She was a bully. She was a sadist. She was a baby rapist. And then she was literally a sack of human excrement. And why was it so important for her sons to have at least one kid by the time they were able to get a fucking erection? Well, it's because Sherry lost her own kids and she wanted theirs. So yes, Sherry wanted one of her sons to get someone pregnant, specifically with a baby girl. She was obsessed with baby girls. So of course, when Vera starts living, and back to Vera, this is about the murder of Vera. So of course, when Vera starts living with this shitty family, Vera's mother even had the nerve to say that Sherry tried to take Vera from me. Like, bitch, okay. It's likely that Sherry, for a period, looked at Vera as the daughter that she never had, but really she was obsessed with babies. So what she wanted was for Zachary and Vera to start sleeping together so she could get pregnant, because she knew that she could take Vera's baby if it ended up being a girl. One instance, this girl by the name of Gina Lopez, she was 15. She was with Garth, one of Jerry's sons. She got pregnant with a baby. And when all of a sudden, they started like harassing her. All the Brooks boys started harassing her. Chucky, the youngest son, was the one that would follow her. And when it was time for this girl to go to work, they would spy on her. Her pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, and she eventually moved to Kentucky with her mother. Now, this is how depraved this fucking woman is. She sends her own kids to go out and stalk a pregnant 15-year-old. So before we even get all of that, let's further set the scene. So off the rip, this isn't looking good. Vera, young girl, mentally challenged, living with this woman, Sherry, and her 4 boys, and well, really 3 boys. It was like 3 in the house for real. And she's dating one of them by the name of Zachary. And now, she's kind of like just stuck there. Her own mother is off with her own boyfriend and doing her own thing. So this isn't really looking good. Now, in the beginning, they were very nice to Vera. And I don't want to say very nice, but they were nice to Vera in the beginning. And after that, this is when shit started to get weird. Now, in March 2009, Vera was convinced to have a kid with Sherry's son, Zach, who obviously Vera was dating. Zach was 16 at the time. Now, Vera was 22. And as soon as she got pregnant, Sherry told Zach, if it turns out to be a girl, he would need to sign his rights over to her. And by her, I mean Sherry. Now, Sherry was walking around saying that Vera's daughter was her baby. And Sherry gave Vera castor oil and orange juice to make her go into labor so she could be born on Sherry's birthday. Now, technically, you're only supposed to take 2 tablespoons to induce labor. She gave her a bottle of it, and the baby was born a day later. Now, her delivery date was supposed to be December 6th, but ended up being November 4th. Sherry was trying to induce labor for November 3rd so they could share the same birthday. Now, the baby ended up spending weeks in the hospital with heart problems. Sherry even said she decided she was going to have pumpkin pie and mashed potatoes with Mama for Thanksgiving. Fucking. When I tell you, I just want to say this. It's one thing hearing this terrible story. It's another thing seeing this terrible story play out. Everybody in the documentary I watched had teeth issues. Either they didn't have teeth or their teeth was rotten. Like this one girl in the documentary, her teeth literally look like Christopher Walken in Sleepy Hollow when he played Ichabod Crane. No, he didn't play Ichabod Crane. He played the Headless Horseman. And her teeth were so rotted and so broken off that they looked like they had been filed down into points. Like these people, oh my God, I just said these people, they're so fucking gross. I don't even know how to describe it. I was like simply trying to find like pictures that would like make people look a little better, but there's no way they're ever going to look better. Like, these people are trash. It's like a town of like incest, meth, heroin, and just ill. Like, oh God, I just felt dirty fucking looking this shit up. So anyway, so on 9/13, this was September 13th, 2010, Findlay police received a call from Ashley Messersmith that Vera was being beaten and she was being held hostage by the Brooks family. They never filed the report, but there was a repeated claim that Vera was being held against her will. Like, most people believe that. Things got so bad that if Vera touched the baby, Zach or Sherry would hit her. This is where I keep saying this is where shit got bad because it keeps getting bad. She quickly turned into a slave. By all accounts, Vera was not allowed to speak and wouldn't talk to people when she saw them in public. She would like walk away quickly and say, "Can't talk." And then she was forced to like massage Sherry's fat, diabetically puffed up, swollen, gross ass feet. And Sherry would hit her in the head if she did something wrong. So Sherry was the only person that could tell her she could talk. So when she would report these incidents, according to Sherry, quote, "Vera wouldn't talk to nobody unless I was there in front of her." And according to Shannon, again, Shannon is the wife of the firstborn, Scotty, she wasn't allowed to talk unless she was told to talk by Sherry. In the police report, they wrote, quote, "I asked Vera if I could speak with her. Vera looked at Sherry for approval. Sherry stated, 'You can talk to her.' It's strange to me, though," and this is me talking, "it's strange to me, though, that they didn't separate these two women to let Vera talk freely." I mean, to me, that's just weird. If you are a fucking social worker or a cop and you come into somebody's house and she's like, "Can I speak with her?" And she's like, "You can talk to her." Like, bitch, so you just the puppet master? Like, what is happening? It's weird to me that they ignored that. So like I said before, these motherfuckers are at this point just abusing this girl and taking her SSI check. She's signing over her SSI checks to them for about $700 a month, even though all of these were, I almost said something terrible. Even though all these motherfuckers are on disability because they all off. Okay. Now, to give you even more context, she at some point was forced to sleep with a pig. She, meaning Vera at some point was forced to sleep with a fucking pig. And when I say pig, I mean, I'm pig. She would have urine and feces all over her. Now, mind you, they literally didn't have plumbing and these motherfuckers would pee in buckets. This has been the only case that I feel like I could smell. Like, I feel like I could smell it, like I can touch it. The information is so fucking thick and gross. And it could be because I used to obsess over like that show Obsessed and what's the other one? Hoarders. Motherfuckers, a lot of people don't remember Obsessed, but Obsessed was kind of, it was a good show. It was on A&E too, if I'm not mistaken. And it was about people with obsessive compulsive disorder. And it went beyond hoarders. It was kind of like My Strange Addiction, but it was like obsessive, crazy people. And this is one of those things where it's just trash. Like, these people are just absolute trash. First of all, why is there a pig here? Why is there a pig here? And you don't have plumbing, which fucking gross people never do. And then you're just like, you just pee in the bucket. Like, huh? So anyway, so Sherry wouldn't let Vera leave. And the baby was only allowed to sleep with Sherry. One article I saw said that Sherry would even threaten to kill the baby if Vera left. So she was adamant on just keeping this girl in his house to abuse her. And you'll figure out why soon. Now, at this point, Zach didn't even want to be with Vera anymore, even though she wanted Zach for herself. I don't know if Zach had this weird thing where he was like, I'm going to just try to have a baby for my mama and then this bitch can, she can skedaddle. I don't know what his thought process is, but they're all mentally off. So who knows what the fuck he was thinking. Now, some accounts even said that Vera would sometimes fight back. Vera was apparently able to curse, and she used to curse people out when she got mad. But when she got mad, he got mad. And one time, Vera accidentally dropped a brick on Sherry's foot. And then Sherry was like, bitch, fucking dropped a fucking rock on my foot. And then she started claiming that that's why she needed her foot wrapped. But really, it was because Sherry was probably chronically diabetic and needed her foot compressed. So, this whole idea of like doing her feet. I hate feet. I didn't get into the foot thing because feet fucking creep. I'm not saying feet creep me out, but I don't like feet. So I didn't really get into feet. I'm happy I have feet. I don't ever want to lose my feet, knock on wood, but I don't want to talk about nobody else's feet. But she used to. I'm just saying. It's just one of them things. Anyway. From there, things went further downhill. Like, Sherry is looking for an excuse to abuse Vera. She really doesn't need her anymore after she has that baby. And this is when they truly decide that they need to get rid of Sherry. Sherry would even go off to joke about drugging Vera with her sleeping pills, then letting her walk on the tracks at night so she could be hit by a train. Now, she thought that if a train hit her and were to kill her, she would be, quote, hamburger meat. And there would be no like fingerprints and nothing, none of that. You know what I mean? Like this obsession with hamburger meat, because it comes up again, is just like mad weird. But according to one article I read, an officer by the name of Marcia Hill investigated and said that she, quote, did not or could not provide any other details surrounding the event. She stated she likes it with the Brooks family and that she is happy here. I told Vera if she needed any help, I could help her. She insisted she was fine. I asked her if she thought this environment was healthy and safe for her and Willadine. She stated she thought it was. I turned and looked, and there was a pig in the closet. The pig looked as though it may have been young. However, it was fairly large, approximately his weight at 100 pounds. The pig was confined to the closet by a piece of plywood that was about 2 feet high. The pig had his front legs and head on top of the plywood. It was clear the animal was using the space as a toilet as well. I pointed out all the hazards I could see with just this room, and she looked around the room and said this was all she needed. 3 days later, CPS arrived with the children's social worker. Now, I know, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen the trial of Gabriel Hernandez, or is it Fernandez? Shit, I should have looked that up. But this is one of those instances where the child protective system works and doesn't work, and then works and doesn't work, because why take you 3 days to get the child out of this house? You motherfucking saw a 100-pound pig in a closet and it was taking a shit. To me, it's obvious that this girl is mentally challenged. It's obvious that this girl is not able to speak for herself. It's obvious that this girl has Stockholm syndrome. It's obvious that no one should be living in this fucking house. And it's like, come on. What pisses me off about this is that there was an extensive record of abuse and the conditions of the home. And in this case, for some reason, it really didn't fucking matter, which is likely because, and I'm going to say this and it's going to sound terrible, and Dave Chappelle said it once, nobody hates poor white people the way white people do. Because You're talking about a town, and this is why sometimes even when I get on the topics of race and, black people, talk about like what people who are empowered does and what the systems do. Look what the fucking system does to other white people. Because all these people are white and they're just poor. I mean, I hate to get on my political soapbox, but you had Hillary Clinton call all of Trump's supporters deplorables. That was the worst thing she could have ever done. And when you see, people of this who were born with privilege in a way, and I'm saying that as far as race is concerned, not just, economic standing, but typically white people are afforded way more benefits than everybody else. And you see white people living under these conditions, like the system isn't even helping these people. You saw a pig in a closet and you were like, I'll see y'all in 72 hours. The fuck? And I know the system is bogged down and I know that they got so many cases and this is that and the other, but I just couldn't help but just be like, yo, this is gross. This is really, really gross. And the fact that nobody really moved quicker is astonishing. Now, I said what I said. I'm getting back to my story. Now, one time, Zach hit her. And the lie was to say that there was a black dude named Desmond Thompson or Demetrius Jones or whatever the fuck from Lima, which is another city in Ohio. That person was the person that actually beat her up. But Desmond Thompson or Demetrius Jones is not a real person. But this person was created to keep Zachary, the true abuser, out of trouble. So even when they're terrible with no fucking teeth, they're still incredibly racist. It's like, he couldn't have been anything. He couldn't have just been another terrible white person. He had to be a black person, I guess. Whatever. Now, during this beating, her nose was broken and she had a concussion. And according to Sherry's ugly ass, Sherry told Zachary that Vera pushed her own daughter into a coffee table and Zachary just walked up to her and punched her in the face. Then Zachary called his aunt, Samantha, and Samantha came over and punched her in the face. So it was just like a drive-by punch type of situation. It's like, oh, you should come by because we're punching Vera in the face. And then Samantha was like, cool, I'll be there. Like, the fuck are these people? Like, so now by the time of the murder, though, Vera was staying in her room 24/7 unless Sherry called for her. She wouldn't look at anyone. She had reached that point where she was just trying to like keep from, because she could, everything that she did was wrong. And so when everything that you do is wrong, you can, find yourself to like, okay, fuck it. Just to appease these people, to keep them from hitting me or to keep them from whatever, I'm going to just look down. I ain't going to say shit. Now, that didn't work. The abuse was so bad that the youngest demon, Sherry's son, Chucky, which appropriate, made her eat dog feces. And they took a plunger and they sodomized Vera. They raped her with a toothbrush while she was on her period and they made her use it. I couldn't even fathom how terrible this is. And I know she was mentally challenged, but there is a part of even mentally challenged people that knows when something is wrong. And to make her eat dog feces, to sodomize her with a plunger, to rape her with a toothbrush and then make her use it. This is creative. Like, this is a creative type of evil that to me comes from probably incest, because we all know that makes you a certain way. But also just, who is your mom? Who is your father? Like, this is genetic. This level, this shit is just sick. At this point, things are not even as worse as they could get. Vera starts to really feel the wrath of the Brookses when Sherry lost her son, Punky. Now, Punky, who is Kevin Brooks Jr., was Sherry's sixth child. Punky was born on June 6, 1991, and his father was Kevin Brooks Sr. Now, which is her current husband at this point. He was known as a straight up fucking menace, and apparently the only person that Sherry was afraid of. He was the one that ran the household because everybody was afraid to tell him no. He's also supposed to be a Crip. So, which is kind of just funny to me for some reason, because I'm like, is there really? Are you really? Like, there's no way to really prove that. But I did look up Crips in that area, and apparently they got some high numbers of Crips. Whether he was one, I don't know. But his pictures are very early 2000s rapper chic, very lean with it, rock with it, you know. But anyway, Sherry also, though, believes that she's a Crip, which I'm like, bitch, they ain't jump your big ass in. Oh, so you a Crip now, huh, Sherry? You and your diabetic foot. Like, get the fuck out of here. So on July 4th, 2010, Punky was taking a leisurely stroll with his girlfriend, Heather, to go get her heroin. And a car couldn't see them and ran them over. Now, Punky was hit. He was walking on the street side, which is very respectful when men do that. I was in a relationship with a person that was very adamant on me walking on the street side, but he was also abusive. So it's like a lot of good that does. Anyway, so Sherry went crazy after Punky's death. And she said, all the girls went wild for Punky. And I'm like, girl, oh, God, I hate when women are like sexually interested in their sons. It's just fucking Norma Bates, just creepy weird. Now, Sherry couldn't accept that it was an accident. She even went so far to blame Heather for pushing him. Now, remember, Heather is Punky's girlfriend who he is traveling with to go get heroin when he gets hit by a car. So Sherry has some chick named Marcy beat Heather up. And Marcy, just on Sherry's command, just started punching this girl in the face. She took her hair, pulled it down the stairs, kept beating her. And at this point, Sherry firmly believes that Punky was killed by Heather. Now, this is what the mama means when she says that she is obituary liar. Because she can't help herself. I don't know. Maybe she truly did believe that Heather killed Punky. I don't know. But that girl just wanted her heroin, most likely. It was just unlucky. Now, after Punky dies, they start to really abuse Vera. I keep saying that because you're like, oh, okay, well, this is kind of where it stopped. It isn't. Because remember, I'm telling you pieces of like who everybody is, but really the story is about Vera. And after Punky dies, they really start to abuse Vera. One time, there was a candy bar, a Kit Kat, and it was left for Punky, who's dead. Vera ate it because she was hungry, and she was beaten for eating the candy. Now, Zachary would even go as far as to text Punky's old girlfriends. He would text Punky's old girlfriends so they could come over and beat Vera. And they did. Now, by January 21st, 2011, they continued to abuse Vera. A police call verified this because, Sherry controlled everything. And Vera, everything Vera did, everything Vera could say to the police. A neighbor said that Sherry would advise Vera not to say anything and to say that she fell and that the bruises were her fault. So, she's kind of like, every time the cops come, just, this is what happened. If you say anything different, you're going to have a problem. Now, the newest cast member in this shit show is a guy by the name of Danny Bixler Jr. Now, we heard of Danny Bixler Sr. Danny Bixler Sr. is Sherry's cousin. Danny Bixler Jr., is a new prom night dumpster baby. And he is the son of Danny Bixler Sr. Now, Danny Bixler Sr. was the dickhead that went on a high-speed chase in a semi-truck who was sleeping with Sherry and is her cousin. Blah, 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 blah. So, comes from good stock. Now, Danny ends up living in the Brooks residence as well. Like they need any other motherfuckers living in this house. This shitty, dirty, pig-infested, pissy, poopy house. Danny Bixler, though, is from Tiffin. He had just served 3 years in lockup for burglary. Now, he apparently was a part of some gang, the 211 boys, which I was like, I'm not looking that up because I don't fucking care. Gang factions and like if you're not Crip Blood, Four Corner Hustlers, GDs, BDs, like if you're not a part of a big faction, I don't give a fuck. I'm not, I mean, and maybe it is, but I don't get it. I don't get into cliques. Okay. I didn't look up the 211 boys. So, but he's a terrible person. So there's that. Now, one time he attacked this teenager that wouldn't give up a park swing to his girlfriend, Nicole Peters, who is equally psychotic. And you'll see what I mean later. Which I'm like, what in the Stand By Me is that this kid wouldn't give up a park swing? Like, you could tell these motherfuckers are children. That's the sad part. Now, Danny comes in swinging his dick. Zachary, who is, obviously Sherry's son, they got very close very quickly. Zachary and Sherry proceeds to tell Danny that it was Vera that killed Punky, knowing that as a fellow Crip, that Danny was going to want revenge for Punky. For 4 days, they were beating Vera. They beat her with a paddle, and then they will really beat her with a belt that had a padlock on it. Now, the more pain Vera felt, the more they seemed to have gotten off on it. Nicole would beat her silly and then would go upstairs and have sex with Danny and then come back downstairs, beat her again, and then go have sex with Danny. And now all of this was under the accusation that Vera was interested in Danny. And Vera was not. Vera was apparently very interested in Zach. Zach wasn't interested in Vera. Nicole was another part of the story because she would solidify to everyone, or she would solidify the fact that Vera needed to die. And once Danny started beating her and he couldn't stop, he would say things like, now this is getting fun. Because at this point, Vera is literally just a punching bag. She's just a punching bag. Now, oddly, all the beatings would occur in Sherry's room. She would just scream, hit her again, in Sherry's room. So you are beating this poor girl, Vera, in Sherry's room. Probably because that bitch was too big to get up and actually see where they were beating her. They would bring Vera into Sherry's room to beat her. That's just like, it's so sadistic and sick. There was even this weird thing on like Nicole's MySpace page that had like an eerie picture on it. And the caption was, I'ma die with this knife. Like, what does that even mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, everybody here is just like hills have eyes. Slow. She was very sick. According to Sherry, Nicole kept saying, can I kill her? And I'm like, I can't. Vera was even mud stumped, which is when you're stumped until you can't move. She was so badly beaten that one person said that she had looked like she had gone through a windshield, and no one was ever charged. Now, the whole time, the fucking weirdo husband is in the house, Kevin Brooks Sr. He's submissive. He just let Vera get beaten. He even had the nerve to say, quote, if you're going to kill her, wait till I get locked up for 30 days so I have an alibi. It just pains me. This is actually that story that I needed to be drunk on first. Because to be sober, trying to tell you this shit is just, it's too much. They broke almost every bone in her face. In one account, someone said that Sherry liked the bruises. Now, about March 26, 2011, 5 hours before Vera's murder, they were all taking turns beating her for 45 minutes. And they stabbed her again. Oh, yeah. Oh, was it the first time that they stabbed her? No, Vera got stabbed first by Danny before. Danny had stabbed her, and then Sherry put her finger in it. Now, Nicole, Danny, Zach, and Chucky would start to beat her. Even the oldest child would start to beat her. The reason was that Lil K, which was a BM of one of these sick motherfuckers, Danny's BM, Lil K was given sour milk by Vera, and so that was an excuse to beat her. Same day, there was a police call for a street fight that occurred between the neighbors, and Brooks' kid, the neighbors and the Brooks kids, like they were fighting. There was a street fight. There was beef. And the fight occurred because Danny had pulled a knife out on one of the neighbors. Now, Zach and Nicole had warrants. So they ran into a house not too far from the train track. And that was the home of Samantha Schwab, which was the aunt that Zachary called so she could just come over and punch Vera in the face for no reason. Now, Vera was so badly beaten that they had to hide her. So she was covered in bruises. Danny had just gotten out of prison. He had teardrop tattoos. It was probably safe to assume he had committed murder at some point. So Danny, Zachary, and Nicole left the scene to hide out. 2 hours after fleeing the scene to Samantha Schwab's, where they hid in the basement, Danny, Zach, and Nicole left and walked in an alley a few miles away. George Speck lives by the skate park. He gave them a ride to their house, which was en route to where he was going. Now, George Speck is like a friend of one of those motherfuckers, so he was just chilling. He lives by the skate park. He was like picking his kid up from school or doing something. I can't remember. And then he gave them a ride to their house because it was en route. At this time, they were spotted near the train tracks. So George, Sam, and the skate park are near the tracks. And likely they plan to kill her there. Like, this could be where they decided to throw Vera on the tracks. They followed the track to Alan Capp's apartment. There was this guy named Alan Capp who was a friend. They had planned an escape route to have someone take them to Kentucky where Gina Lopez was. Gina Lopez, again, was the 15-year-old who got pregnant by Garth, and then she ended up being stalked by the Brooks boys, and then she ended up having a miscarriage and going to Kentucky. Their escape route was to follow the tracks, end up in Kentucky. They could meet up with Gina Lopez, but Gina was like, I think not. Not today. Now, by 5 o'clock, the pepper spray had filled the house. They were trying to clear this house. Apparently, there was a pepper spray incident. And Shannon, the wife of Scotty, was on her way to the emergency room 17 minutes later. Now, in a wild turn of events, Sherry starts to blame Shannon for wanting Willa Dean, Vera's child, dead. Or I'm sorry. That's a lie. Why did I make that up? Sherry started to blame Shannon for wanting Willa Dean. Period. I just made that up. Shannon was targeted because Nicole said that Vera sprayed pepper spray that caused a miscarriage that made Shannon upset and said Shannon threatened to kill her. And Shannon was caught in all the lies about whether or not this was true. Because I guess like she probably did say it, but that doesn't mean she killed her. Like people say that shit all the time. Like fuck her. Like I should fucking kill her. I mean, I don't say that, but people do apparently. Now, at around 9 p.m., Scotty overheard a meeting between Danny, Zach, Garth, and Nicole, and they were trying to figure out where to kill Vera. Scotty didn't think they were really going to do it. Danny wanted to do it in the park, but Zach wanted to go back to the bridge so they could have the train hit her. Now, when Vera was told to get her shoes on, Vera was very resistant. Nicole was the one that finally got her to put her shoes on. Shannon thinks that she knew what was going on and could tell, that Vera she had peeped the situation. Like, this isn't going to end well. Now, Vera wanted Scotty to go with her. Scotty got upstairs and he was stopped by Zach, who was trying to stop him from leaving. Sherry told him to say that Danny was trying to stop him from leaving with Vera. Now, Vera felt safe with Scotty, the oldest son. According to Shannon, Sherry told Scotty, quote, "You're not going to be a part of what they're doing," which to me implicates Sherry immediately. I mean, she was implicated anyway, but the fact that she, is on record telling Scotty that you're not going to want to be a part of what they're doing is like, then what are they doing? So Vera started crying because she wanted to stay home. And Nicole had threatened her with more beatings. She was just basically like, put your fucking shoes on, that type of shit. Before Vera left the house, she said, "Good night, sugar babe," which is like, oh God, just take it away. Now, it seems as though Vera was attacked by Nicole first. They forced her to strip. It was below zero. They made her get naked because the knife was so dull that she couldn't get the knife to penetrate through her clothes. And Sherry, oddly enough, shared the same details, which was kind of interesting because Sharon hadn't talked to Zach, Nicole, or Danny since the night of the murder, but then she knew that detail. They found her panties and shirt in the bushes. And there was no effort to conceal the crime. Like, she was cut from ear to ear in a sawing motion. The first few stabs were weaker ones, likely caused by a female. She was stabbed 21 times, and they tried to cut her head off. They put her on the tracks to likely make it look like she was decapitated by the train. One thing that they would say, is that they wanted her to look like hamburger meat. And who said some shit about hamburger meat? Sherry. There's that. Now, Vera is dying on the track. They left, tossed the knife in the lake, and they went to party. But they didn't know that Vera, challenged as she may be, was smart enough and had enough strength to climb off the track where she couldn't be hit. She had basically curled up in the fetal betwition. Oh my God, betwition? The fetal betwition? She had curled up in the fetal position between both rails, and she died. And the following morning, Vera's body was found intact on the CSX bridge. Now, after the murder, these motherfuckers come back to the house. They change clothes and they just get fucked up. People said that Nicole was smiling and she was happy. She wanted hugs. She was just happy that Vera was dead. They're high-fiving. They were all talking about how they killed Vera. Nicole says to Sherry, she got her first teardrop. That was like her thing. Like, this stupid little bitch was like big because she's dating Danny. Danny has a teardrop. She wanted a teardrop too. Whatever. She wasn't sorry at all. Zach went to get drunk because he just wanted to forget about the whole fucking thing. He drank an entire bottle of vodka and then confessed to Desta. Desta was one of the either cousins or whoever the fuck. Who cares? Who cares who she is? Desta said they didn't want her around anymore, but she thought they were only going to kick her out, which to me is like reasonable. Like, you wouldn't, if you have a problem with somebody, you wouldn't necessarily think, oh yeah, she's going to fucking kill him. You know what I mean? But sick people. And after Vera was dead, Gina Lopez heard from Zach because he was trying to use the escape route for himself. Gina Lopez, again, in Kentucky. Like, this was after, like, Danny and Nicole was arrested. Zach had tried to reach out to Gina because he was going to use the route to Kentucky. Now, mind you, Gina had already told these motherfuckers, like, I don't fuck with y'all for real. Like, I'm not about to get implicated in this shit. So Danny and Nicole didn't know Alan or George. Remember, Alan Cap and George was his face. Who knew those people was Zach. So Zach had to be the one to set up the whole escape because he was the one that knew all of those people. So when they were questioned by police, Sherry used like the black boyfriend excuse again, but they found like a bloody t-shirt, a lock of Vera's hair, and a belt. And so they were able to actually look at like video surveillance on the street, and they saw Danny, Nicole, Zachary, and they were walking with Vera that evening. So Zach was already talking. he was taken into custody on the night of Vera's murder. He was sentenced to 4 fucking years for obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice. Why can't I say that? He was sentenced to 4 years for obstruction of justice by misleading police and threatening a witness. Danny and Nicole confessed and accepted plea bargains, but Danny was sentenced to 40 years to life, like his papa, and 4 for obstruction of justice. Why can't I say that? Obstruction of justice. And Nicole was sentenced to 23 years in prison on a conspiracy charge. Now, this is where I'm like, ugh. It's confusing to me that Zach didn't get any real time, because Zach, his family, everybody involved is so heavily implicated in the abuse and the killing of Vera that the fact that Danny got so much fucking time when he didn't even know this girl. I mean, not to say that he didn't deserve it. Sure, him and Nicole both deserve to be under the jail. But the fact that Zach got off with 4 years for obstruction of justice because he misled the police and threatened a witness? I mean, so according to Danny, he felt like he was being pushed into killing Vera well before the pepper spray incident. Because remember, they were using the pepper spray incident and the fact that Shannon had that abortion as an excuse to punish her and to kill her. Even though, I mean, Shannon didn't want Vera dead. She's probably not happy about it, but I don't think she would have. I mean, I don't know. Any of these fucking people. I don't think she co-signed on killing Vera. Now, it was mainly all coming from Sherry and Zach. So they were the two pushing everything towards Danny and Nicole. He even said, quote, they were offering me money and everything to take care of Vera, to get rid of her. So Danny later tried to plead insanity, but they were like, nah. And during the crime, apparently this came out in the court documents that Danny was drunk. He was high on cocaine. I don't know. Danny was drunk, high on cocaine, ecstasy, and marijuana. The medical examiner confirmed that Vera had been stabbed all over. Now, you're probably like, oh, well, then what happened to Sherry? Like, did Sherry do anything? Did she get anything? Well, when Vera's body was discovered, she was the one to identify the body instead of Vera's own fucking mother. And there was this dude, his name was Larry. He was a homeless dude. He was actually dating Sherry too, which is like barf. He was framed for the murder initially. And some definitely believe that Sherry set up the murder, which I'm like, obvi. She was not charged with murder or conspiracy. Instead, she was convicted of selling drugs with her husband, and that didn't happen until 2014. In 2015, she spent 40 months in prison. Now, by October 27, 2011, Sherry was charged with obstruction of justice, and she was sentenced to 5 years probation. Scotty said that there are things that Sherry did in her life that would put her behind bars, but she would always get away with it. It's so weird when people are like that. Like, I just feel, and I don't know, maybe it's because they don't believe in like karma, you know, like some people just don't really believe in that type of shit. But I find it weird when people like do terrible things and then they get away with it. Then I do some terrible shit and they don't even really be terrible like this. And then I feel like I get caught immediately. So then there was like this activist group that was created called Voices for Vera. It was created because they wanted to get justice for Vera because she was beaten for months before she was actually murdered and everybody knew it. Now, the judge didn't understand the motive, but it's obvious. If Vera left the house, then she would get custody of the baby. Sherry would. And if Vera left the house, then Vera would get custody of the baby. So she had to go. And Zach was supposed to appear for 2 supervised visits when for the baby that he has with Vera, and he missed the second one. He apparently didn't show up to the next visit because the baby would not stop crying when he was near her. She didn't even want to be touched by him, which I'm like, oh God, I don't even want to know what Zach did to that baby. Now, Sherry requested custody, but the judge denied it, and the child was put up for adoption. Now, Willa Dean, Vera's daughter, had been adopted by a loving family. She was 17 months old when Vera was murdered. And at the time of Vera's murder, she had been estranged from Vera's murder. Vera had been estranged from her own mother since 2009. But her mother did say nobody defended her. Nobody tried to stop it because they feared for their lives. They were talking bad to her, saying, I don't love her and I didn't want her. Now, I'm not going to say you didn't love her and you didn't want her. I'm not going to say that. But by the time Vera was of like that, she was 18, she was already kind of fucking with this 13-year-old. That's a telltale sign. But in this time where, like, it's not time, it's in this space, because these people live in dirt poor, disgusting, gross Findlay, Ohio. This girl just didn't have options, and she really wasn't given a chance from the beginning. So that is the story, the terrible, very sad story of Vera Jo Reigle. And I don't really know what to say. It's hard. It's very hard to, even when I was researching the story, I was like, yo, does this ever get better? And I've seen so many stories too, where it's just like boom, 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 back to back to back to back to back to back to back terribleness. And in this case, it was terrible. And I remember when I first watched the documentary on this, I was like, I see why sometimes it's just best when some people just don't live anymore. Because if that girl had lived for any longer, it would have been worse. It could have ended worse. I don't know how it could have ended much worse, but her life was one that I understand being like, you know what? I just sign out. I sign out of this shit. This isn't fun. This isn't exciting. This isn't new. This isn't pleasant. I'm being abused. I'm being raped. From the very beginning, this girl was a toddler. She was being molested. She just never got a fair shot. So I hope that I exposed you to something that was a new story. I had never heard of Vera Jo Reigle, but I did watch the documentary not too long ago. It's called Goodnight, Sugar Babe. And it was on Amazon. This was a few years ago. I watched it and I was like, ugh, this is just, again, it's one of those stories that just make you feel icky and gross and disgusting. So I'm not going to say I hope you enjoyed it because I'm sure you didn't. But again, check me out on all the Instagrams and all of the social media shit. I got rid of my Twitter because I hate Twitter and I don't like Elon Musk. Yeah, I hope you all stick around. We got more interesting stories coming up. I'm going to start fucking with some paranormal shit, some alien shit, doing some weird shit. I got a whole list of shit that I need to do, but I won't say I hope you enjoyed this because I know that you didn't, but I hope you found this very informative. And, yeah, come back. All right. This is I Swear to Drunk I'm Not God. Peace.